For anybody that doesn't know, NORML is a nonprofit organization, and what we do is try to educate the public, and we also do a little bit of lobbying to try to change the laws that surround cannabis or marijuana or pot or whatever you want to call it. What I want to get out to everybody today, though, is that if you didn't realize it, the government has been lying to you for about 70 years or so right now about cannabis and its effects on individuals and society as a whole. What we're trying to do is to hold the government accountable for the things that they've been telling us about marijuana, because they've been lying to us for 7 decades now about this plant. In case you missed it, a recently published study found that 1 in 99 adults in the United States right now is in jail or prison for any kind of offense. That's less than 1 in 100 adults in prison right now in the United States. That's a total of 2.3 million about. And the report also found that this total puts the United States as the world's leader in incarceration of its own citizens. More than Russia, more than China, more than any other, quote-unquote bad country that you can think of. America comprises less than 5% of the world's population. But according to the study, America comprises somewhere in the realm of 25% of the world's prison population. In 2006 alone, there was more than 830,000 Americans arrested for marijuana offenses. Somewhere in the realm of 90% of all those arrested for marijuana were just for possession. You're going to hear the feds say, oh, not that many people get arrested for marijuana. Well, go back and look up the FBI's numbers on this, because the FBI tells you how many people that they arrest, estimated, and it's over 830,000. In Texas alone, in 2006, there was more than 61,000 individuals arrested for marijuana violations, and 97% of those were for possession only. The whole premise of this marijuana prohibition started, like I said, about 70 years ago with a racist individual by the name of Harry Anslinger. Now, I'll grant you that back in the 30s, there was a lot of racism in the U.S. But the fact is that these people got up in front of Congress and gave public testimony saying that this quote-unquote devil weed was helping people of color to corrupt the white women. That's part of the argument that they posed to make marijuana illegal. The fact is that this same racism that started the prohibition of marijuana permeates even today into our drug war, to where right now 13% of the U.S. population, or about 13%, are African Americans, but that same group that makes up 13% of the U.S. population comprises more than 50% of all sentenced drug offenders. The fact of the matter is, white Americans outnumber black Americans as far as drug use by 500%. 5 times more white people use drugs than black people. And black people outnumber whites as far as drug offenses by 2 times. You can't explain that any other way except to say that it has something to do with a racist undertone that's been going on for 70 years. The prohibition of marijuana literally is wasting billions of tax dollars every year, and it doesn't do anything except line pockets of for-profit companies such as private prison conglomerates, law enforcement agencies, drug testing and treatment companies, pharmaceutical companies, and not to mention the corrupt and lying politicians that are serving you in Washington right now as we speak. It's all been perpetrated by the government onto us, and they're forcing us to pay for it with tax money. Every one of us in here is paying for these people to go to jail for marijuana convictions through your tax dollars. And the way that they do that is they get elected and then they pass the laws. Every year, almost 100,000 Americans die from legal and over-the-counter and prescription medications. Every year, more than 100,000 Americans die from legal medications. Every year, 400,000 people die from tobacco-related illnesses. But the fact of the matter is that to this day, there's not one credible scientific study that shows that a single person has ever died directly from smoking or using marijuana. It's never happened. And in fact, there have been scientific tests to try to overdose, animals in lab settings on THC, and it can't be done. So why is it that right now the Zogby Corporation can do a poll and find that 60% of Americans oppose arresting and jailing nonviolent marijuana offenders, even though there's 830,000 arrests for it? And right now, 12 states have already passed medical marijuana laws, making medical marijuana legal in 12 states in the United States. Not to mention the fact that medical marijuana has been endorsed by medical organizations which include the American Nurses Association, the American Public Health Association, the American Academy of Family Physicians, and the American College of Physicians, who just endorsed it this year. So why is it that our government refuses to acknowledge that there's any medical benefit for marijuana? The same government that says there's no medical use for marijuana has already approved for prescription pharmaceutically derived components of marijuana to give to patients. So if you can derive components from marijuana and prescribe it to patients for medical uses, how can they say that marijuana has no medical use? It's a lie. Medical marijuana has been shown in a multitude of studies to be able to help people with a range of medical conditions, including cancer patients, chemotherapy patients, HIV and AIDS complications, arthritis, Alzheimer's, fibromyalgia, glaucoma, gastrointestinal disorders, multiple sclerosis, neuropathic pain, PTSD, nausea, and the list goes on and on and on. If you want more information on that, go to NORML.org and look under the clinical applications for cannabis on the right-hand side of the page. There's connotations and real scientific studies that show what these compounds can do for these specific medical conditions.